Sometimes you want to be like sad for all the consequences that groups of people are going through with what is happening in the US. But when someone comes out and, openly talks about how they voted for Trump, and he's the same person that is taking away the privileges and the things they've been enjoying with Biden policies that he put into place, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. So we have this farmer, a white man, that is crying on the internet asking for help because he can no longer manage his farm because the person that he voted for, Trump, made or put a pause on the NRCS, the Inflation Reduction Act, where, these people have been helped in how they do their businesses and manage things.
I might lose my farm because of the government.
Oh, McDonald. That's terrible. Wait. This you?
I did vote for Donald Trump.
Well, let's get into the real reason why Bob from VeggieTales here might lose his farm, because the government is literally just the consequences of his own fucking actions. This man was receiving funding and aid through the NRCS, which in part was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act, a policy set in place by Joe Biden. Mind you, that's kind of crazy because why are you living off of the government? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Isn't that what y'all supposed to do? But now, because of executive orders signed by Trump, there is a pause on funds through the Inflation Reduction Act, and no money can go out. And since no funds can go out, he is in danger of losing his farm. Let me get this straight. Because of your inflated ignorance and your reduced education, look at your neighbor and say reduced education, you went to the polls, put all of your eggs in Trump's basket, and now you have concepts of chickens. Yikes on bikes. And it's like, y'all will do everything but admit that man is a problem and that y'all fucked up. I might lose my farm because of the government. No, think about it. You're going to lose your farm because of Trump. Because you voted for him. Because you fucked around and now you're finding out. Because now you're on your page talking about well, yes, I voted for Trump, but it's time for us to all come together. It's not me versus you. It's us versus them. Please help me save my farm. Call your local representatives. Share my video. Not the J-Lo level gaslight. I wish y'all had this energy on November 5th. That was the time that we were supposed to come together. That was the group project, and y'all didn't do your part. It's giving you want to study after the exam has already been taken. And let me hold your hand with a napkin in between. When I say this, I got a 92% on my exam. I'm not looking for no extra credit. Thoughts and prayers.
I might lose my farm because of the government. I got in
What? How?
program out there called the EQIP program. And what the EQIP program is it's cost sharing on stuff like fencing, different seedings, water lines, waters, wells, and stuff like that to better conserve farmland for agricultural use. So I thought it was a great program.
It sounds like a great program. Tell me more.
EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, the Inflation Reduction Act put in place by the Biden administration? Amazing program, right? One that you wanted to take part in. Okay.
Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward.
Executive order? Funding freeze? Oh, the one Trump signed in. Oh, okay. I'm listening.
But the issue I have is I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material, already paid for the labor, so I'm out all that cost, and I use my farm operating expenses in order to do those projects, because per contract, I knew that I was going to get cost sharing refunds on the stuff once completed, but now that it's completed, they're saying that they're unable to provide the funds because of the freeze on the Inflation Reduction Act funds. So I reached out to a couple different senators and Congress people. So I reached out to Ann Wagner's office. I have not heard back from them. I reached out to Josh Hawley's office. I have heard back from him. Not from him personally, but from his office. And they are looking into it because they said that this should not be happening. The intention was not to take away the funding from the farmers, but doing the Inflation Reduction Act, cutting those costs, then it's also taken away from the programs that those programs helped out.
Okay. Real quick, though, who did you vote for?
By saying I did vote for Donald Trump. And just because I voted for Donald Trump doesn't mean I believe in everything that he stands for.
Okay, so let me get this straight. You participated in a program that was created by the previous administration, a program that you need to keep your farm alive and well. And then you went and voted for a man who was very clear that he was going to cut these programs. But you didn't know, you weren't aware that you fell under these programs that were going to be cut. So when you say that I don't agree with everything he does, you don't agree with the things that affect you, because deportation, getting rid of the rights of trans people, getting rid of same-sex marriage, getting rid of the Department of Education, getting rid of and fucking up quite literally anything that had nothing to do with you was okay. But now that it's touched you, you want to do what?
Stands for. And I don't understand how you guys are, everybody's at each other's throats in America. It's me versus you instead of us versus them. And that's where we need to get together as Americans and actually get on the same page and actually stand together and unite and fix some of these issues. There's a lot.
See, the thing is, people have tried. We have tried till we're quite literally blue in the face. But y'all hatred runs so deep, so deep. The idea of having a woman, and a black woman at that, sitting at the head of the table was such a non-starter for y'all that now those who can't hear must feel it.
It's like Trump is posing everything that Biden had put in place for him to show how powerful he is as a pumped man, and the ones that are facing the consequences are his own. Look at the inflation that is happening with the tariffs that he's putting on other countries. Like, everything Trump is doing is not hurting black people or minority people alone. In fact, the people that are hurting more are his own people, because they are the ones that have been benefiting a lot in these programs. So seeing a pumped person who was open to say that they voted for this man come out and now complain about his policies is wild to me.
I want to start off by saying I did vote for Donald Trump.
I say this with no sincerity. I'm truly shocked. Shocked. Aren't you shocked? Are you shocked? This is my shocked face.
We need to get together as Americans and actually get on the same page and actually stand together and unite and fix some of these issues.
Bro, did you really just say, can't we all get along? No. Not when you were happy to vote for a dictator who wants to strip us all of our rights, not to mention fucking over farmers like you. Because he never cared about you, and he never will.
There's a lot of corruption in the government, and I just don't understand how you can't see it. On both sides of the aisles, nobody's perfect.
Dude, except they're literally not the same, which is highlighted by your personal experience. On one side, you have Biden and Harris, who gave you the Inflation Reduction Act, the one that allowed you to be part of a program that you were so excited about. Oh, and while I'm at it, you can thank Kamala for that, because she cast that tie-breaking vote that ensured you got access to that program.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
And on the other hand, you have Trump, who you voted for, who with just the stroke of his pen was able to deny you the payment you deserve. You can keep claiming they're the same, but one was going to benefit you and the other might leave you farmless.
I just wanted to take that attention. I wanted to point out Jesus Christ.
And that's where we stop, because no. Anyway, enjoy this little find out portion of fucking around. Oh, and don't forget to thank Trump when you're setting up your GoFundMe.
I need your help to save my farm and many other farms. I wanted to give you guys an update on what we figured out with our contract through NRCS. So to give you some backstory, if you haven't watched the previous video, please go out, watch that previous video I've got on there. We are possibly going to lose our farm if NRCS doesn't hold up their contract with us on the EQIP program. So the reason that they're not able to hold up the contract is our EQIP program, which is cost sharing on fences, waters, a well, and some seedings, was funded by the Inflation Reduction Act. Because of the executive orders, there's a pause or a freeze on the funding through the Inflation Reduction Act, and they're not able to pay out on the stuff that we completed or anything going forward. But the issue I have is I've already done a bunch of the work, already paid for the material, already paid for the labor, so I'm out all that cost, and I use my farm operating expenses in order to do those projects, because per contract, I knew that I was going to get cost sharing refunds on the stuff once completed, but now that it's completed, they're saying that they're unable to provide the funds because of the freeze on the Inflation Reduction Act funds. So I reached out to a couple different senators and Congress people. So I reached out to Ann Wagner's office. I have not heard back from them. I reached out to Josh Hawley's office. I have heard back from him, not from him personally, but from his office. And they are looking into it because they said that this should not be happening. The intention was not to take away the funding from the farmers, but doing the Inflation Reduction Act cutting those costs, then it's also taken away from the programs that those programs helped out. So it's in the works, but what I need from you guys is if you could please share this, tag your representatives, tag your senators. I need to get some ground on this because I'm not the only one this is affecting. So there are other farmers in the comments saying that they're in the same boat that I'm in because they signed these contracts, and the contracts, even like, so whenever I looked into the contract, I made sure that that funding was set aside. It wasn't funding that, oh, we hope it's there whenever it's done. I made sure that that funding was set aside so that way before I made these business decisions, I knew that funding was there per contract. So they're backing out on the contract because they don't have the funding. They can't release the funds. So please tag the representatives, please tag the senators. I need to get some ground on this. We need to help me and other farmers out. We've got to get this funding paid out. I don't care if they don't do it in the future. The problem is there was contracts in place, multiple farms made business decisions, and multiple farms are going to sink if we don't get traction on this and get those funds unfrozen.
They are the ones facing it rough. And for a group of people that has been, privileged for a very long time, this is going to be a very long ride. Just like I said in the previous video, how, pumped people went to a black community trying to stop trouble because black people are not reacting in any way. This is exactly it. You can't be a pumped person who voted for your man and now you have the audacity to be complaining about the policies he's putting in place. He's helping you. He's actually helping you, so you should enjoy that. Yeah, forget about everything that Biden had done for you because they didn't make sense to you, that you are actually enjoying them, but you didn't want them. You voted them off, just like your candidate is doing. So you might as well just enjoy the fruits of your vote. I feel always like when I say these videos, these people thought whatever they are voting for is going to hurt majority black people or, these other groups of people. They are the ones facing it rough.
Farmers and ranchers around the country are waiting with bated breath to see if the Trump administration is going to release critically needed funds that were set aside to help farmers and ranchers improve their operations around the country. Recently, I did a video speaking to a young rancher about the many dominoes that have fallen over the last 40 years that have led to rural America, for the most part, voting against its best interest. But I've been waiting to see how our local politicians would respond to the actions of the Trump administration, actions that are critically harming farmers and ranchers in our state. So my question to any politician right now supporting these policies of the Trump administration is simply this: why do we as American citizens, especially as farmers and ranchers, have to live by a different set of rules than you do? Why are we asked to keep our commitment and our word when you're not doing the same thing for us? Now, rural America, I want to say something directly to you, and I hope you'll listen with an open mind. As I've said many times before, I'm not asking any of you to admit that you were wrong. I'm just asking you to admit that you were lied to. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again now, rural America. Our focus on the culture wars have led to us not electing politicians that stand up for the best interest of rural America. And it's also prevented us from holding accountable the very politicians like Congressman Smith who made promises to rural America that they're breaking right now as we speak. Fighting the culture wars for the politicians in Washington, D.C. and the crooked televangelists on television all over this country doesn't do a single thing to build a fence on our farms and ranches. It doesn't do a single thing to build a stock tank on our farms and ranches. It doesn't do a single thing to improve the quality of the soil on our farms and ranches. And it doesn't do a single thing to keep our kids at home once they graduate from college to carry on the Lord's work of farming our farms and ranches. Now, rural America, here's your last history lesson for the day. There was a time in this country where the Midwest, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, all throughout the Midwest, we were a hotbed of liberal, progressive farmer activism in this country. We knew the difference between the gilded tower and the farmhouses and sod houses that we all lived in. We knew who was looking out for us and who was fighting for our best interests. And over time, these culture wars and the lies that we've been told as a result of these culture wars have caused us to lose sight of the issues that are really important to us. And that's fairness in farming and ranching. It's the ability to control, better than we can now, the cost of inputs, the cost of what we sell our products for, and more control over the entire process itself. Many of you probably don't know that farmers used to march in the streets in the cities in Kansas and Missouri and Iowa and Nebraska to stand up against the oligarchies of their day that were forcing them to live like paupers on their own farms. It's time for us to do that again. There's no doubt about it in my mind, and we have to do that together, regardless of political ideology or political persuasion. So now is the time, while tough decisions are being made for us by politicians who intend not to keep their word, for us to make our own tough decisions ourselves. Are we going to put the culture wars behind us and to begin to vote for politicians that understand rural policies and will keep their word when they make a promise to us as farmers and ranchers? I hope so, because without it, it's only going to get worse. And in the end, we're going to have a country whose landscape is covered by corporate farms owned by Big Ag and Wall Street.
Donald Trump specifically said he was going to go after low-hanging fruit. You just didn't think you were low-hanging fruit, and it turns out you are. And now you have entered into a contract with the government where you agreed to do a bunch of work and they were going to reimburse you for it to improve your farmland for future generations. The Inflation Reduction Act gave you that opportunity, and you took it. I would have too. And now the man who's known for going back on contracts and refusing to pay for work that's already been done is doing that to you, the man you voted for. So you were fine when he was talking about removing the civil rights of women and trans people, trampling on the freedoms of immigrants. You were fine with that because it wasn't going to affect you. And you didn't believe that they were going to implement Project 2025. In fact, maybe you didn't read it, because pages 294 through 310 talked specifically about how they were going to fuck you. Either you didn't believe it, you didn't take the time to read it, or you just thought everybody that was complaining about Trump and his plans and his policies were just being crybabies? Or maybe you thought those people deserved what was going to happen to them. I don't know. But now it's happening to you. And so I would think that right now is a good time for you to admit that you were wrong and maybe apologize, because there are a lot of people that are going to be hurt by the things that you voted for and cheered on, and now you're one of them. And I'm sorry. I'm actually sorry that's happening to you. I don't wish it on you. But I do hope that you have the courage to say I was wrong and this guy's a piece of shit. Imagine the type of coalition we could build if people had the courage to admit they were wrong and join hands with the people who were scared originally. We might be able to do something about this.
This is the difference. Racist white people are fighting for the convenience that comes with being white, the convenient privilege that comes with being white. That's what they're fighting for, right? And black people are fighting for their lives and the lives of their children. So the reason behind why you're fighting matters. You're never going to win against somebody that is fighting for the life of their child. You're just not. Because we will give everything we got to this. You're fighting for convenience and I'm fighting for my life. I win.
Guys, that is it for me in the video. Sometimes people can really get on your nerves with the things that they do, because this can't be made up. Like, you can't make this up. Yeah, that is it for me in the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, guys. I'm always posting. I'll see you in another video. Bye.